Okay, good day everyone. I'm very happy to be here today with Suzanna Laskaridis in this very nice setting. Thank you very much for having us here today. We're aiming to discuss a number of interesting initiatives that Suzanna has carried out over the years. I would say there's a diverse range of activities and programs that you've been working on. And I just wanted to start looking, obviously you have the day-to-day management of the shipping companies, Lavinia Corporation, Laskaridis Shipping Company. You're also the General Secretary and Treasurer of the Katerini Laskaridis Foundation. And in 2016 you founded Real Time Graduates, which is a non-profit initiative dealing with young graduates who have minimal or no work experience, looking to see how they can connect within the wider maritime industry. And also you're the founder and executive of BlueCycle, dealing with marine plastic waste generated from shipping and fishing activities. So putting all these together, it fits very, very nicely within, I would say, the ESG, I would say the buzzword of our days, environmental, social governance. And was this a plan? Was this a carefully put together program by yourself? Or was there some other thinking behind this?
We only recently thought that this was a good, let's say, ESG package when we started putting everything down. It didn't actually start as such. I'll take a step back for the foundation. I've been involved in the foundation since its inception. So it started quite early days, but it became an actual foundation in 2007. So I've been its secretary since, which is involved in a very large number of cultural programs and educational programs. But this is part of the family foundation, so it does very many things. Real Time Graduates started actually as an extension of the internship program that we had in Laskaridis Shipping. We had approximately 3 or 4 interns every year in various departments. And then after the crisis, so around maybe 2013, 2014, we had quite a few young graduates, shipping graduates, looking to spend some time in the company. But because we already had all our positions filled, we couldn't accept any more. So we decided to basically bring in more shipping companies in order for them to be able to fill in these positions. Now, quite happily, we can say that we are more than 80 shipping companies and shipping-related companies in the full field of maritime activities in Greece that take part in Real Time Graduates. So that's I'm extremely happy how this has grown and how it has been accepted by the shipping community as well. So this has started officially in 2016, Real Time Graduates, and now it's grown to become something, let's say, independent. It's like a gateway for young people. BlueCycle started unofficially in 2017 when we did the production of a short documentary which had to do with the recycling of marine plastic waste. And then basically we took this idea and literally scaled it up to a full-size laboratory now, which is the only one in Greece dealing with recycling of shipping and fishing waste. Now it's in its 3rd year as a company. It's the only basically like fully circular sustainability company, blue and circular economy company dealing with this recycling waste. And it's something that it's continuing and it's growing constantly. And of course, with this, we're still very much active and involved in the family business, which is Laskaridis Shipping and Lavinia Corporation. So it's quite an interesting past few years.
Sure, and listening to this, your very good description of all the activities, comes to my mind is obviously you have, as you mentioned, the main activities is the shipping company, and we all know the challenges. We'll discuss some of them, I think, a bit later on. But when you put, let's say, all this in your mind and you formulated the plan, and looking at the real-time graduates, for example, What were the challenges in actually putting it together, in creating the startup, non-for-profit organization, but dealing with a very, very important and I would say very wide activity, as is, let's say, the human element for shipping?
I will start with a very simple challenge, is that real-time graduates began and still is completely free for the shipping companies as well as the graduates. This, although it doesn't sound as a challenge, is a challenge because people don't believe that you're actually offering much when you're doing something for free, or that you want something else in return. It took us a long time to persuade the shipping companies taking part that we don't take any commission for the people that are hired by them. We don't expect something more from them if they do take an intern. This is something that the company does because they feel the need to add interns to their group, or they see a cause behind having young graduates and developing them, of course, into further executives for their company. So I have to say that the first steps were quite challenging into persuading the graduates and the companies that there is indeed something to come out of this, even though it is for free. So I think that was one interesting challenge which we didn't see, we didn't expect to face. And of course, gaining the trust of the graduates, and the program grew. So we did open houses, which are basically educational visits in shipping companies, other organizations, classification societies, P&I clubs. So I think the first steps were more challenging into persuading everybody what this is. It was quite a new perception in the Greek maritime world, and the fact that it's still a basically free access database for young graduates. So I think the first steps were indeed more challenging, but as people started accepting it and enjoying it, I think it's gone a lot more smoothly the past few years.
Good. And what has been the reception, let's say, from, let's say, the community of graduates or prospective graduates for this initiative?
I think it's been we feel very welcomed. Although many of the Greek universities have their own, let's say, after college programs to connect them with various shipping companies, many of these, at least what we found, was that they were not followed up extensively, or they had a very close-knit community which didn't actually allow them to be opened up. Furthermore, I thought personally that it was very important for graduates to try and figure out the full spectrum of what shipping is in Greece. When people sign up for real-time graduates, they sign up thinking that the shipping company as in a ship management company is all shipping is in Greece, whereas they have vast amounts of technical knowledge, possibly logistic knowledge, and they don't think that this is enough to be in shipping. Electronics, there's a huge range of studies, but people still want, 99% of them actually still want to work in a shipping company, a ship management company. So we're basically just trying to educate them in the fact that there are other fields which are as successful, as challenging, as interesting, and in many cases with higher prospects as well. So this is also a very important part of real-time graduates. And I think that is also being something welcomed by the students who, in many cases, we've had students come here for educational visits that have finished university, Greek university, 4 years of shipping studies, and they don't know the departments of a shipping company. So that is quite interesting, to see and to face. So I think there's always, unless there's need for something like this, I think it's always welcome.
No, I think it's very important, as you say, to have this, let's say, guidance for young people in terms of what are the possible pathways. There's not only one, we know that. And of course there are different, let's say, ways that one can navigate through the shipping industry.
Exactly.
And we've seen many successes coming from career changes mid-career. So I think we'll come back to that a bit later on in terms of the, let's say, the people skills. But I'd like to take you now to the actual shipping company activities. And you have obviously, you're the next generation, I would say, in terms of the shipping company governance. Can you give us a bit of insight as to, let's say, the advantages and disadvantages of being the new generation of leadership? And also, how important do you think is succession planning for a family business such as yours?
I think the advantages are obvious. This is something that is, which again, I think it's similar to any size company. It is something that we ourselves haven't worked for. We've basically been blessed to be in the position that we are. I think the disadvantages are something that are not discussed as often as they possibly should, which many cases has to do with expectations from a further generation, whether that is a second or a third or fourth generation. The expectations to follow through a specific existing possible plan, a strategic plan, to prove that whoever is in the position of being a second or third generation is capable of being there. I think there's also quite interesting discussions to be taking place rather than the fact that somebody might be lucky to be in the position that they are.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've seen in terms of some research that's been done in the past regarding, let's say, some successes and also failures in terms of succession planning. But what we're looking at specifically also within BCA is some of the, let's say, key success factors, or if you like, some KPIs that can actually measure the effectiveness of succession planning. And I was wondering whether this is something that you also carry out.
Well, I think certainly it's not person-oriented. So I do think that in any company, in any type of succession planning, the most important thing to be considered is the success of the company rather than the satisfaction of one or two or three family members. That is depending, of course, on the specific strategy that the company has. If it's a strategy of general prosperity or keeping everything within the family. So I think these are also two separate routes. Of course, if both are combined, if any type of successor comes from within the family but is capable enough of continuing, this only goes to show, as with us, we're only quite young, so we have many years in front of us to hopefully make our own mistakes and learn from them as well as our parents have done before us. So.
Yeah, I think you put it quite correctly in terms of being the company, the system, rather than let's say the specific individuals. It's more about how the whole system fits together, the processes, and I believe that any company, whether they're public, private, or family run, they need to have a system of measures, which can then be evaluated, reviewed, action taken as necessary.
I think everybody should basically get a chance to prove what they have to offer and what their positions are and what their ideas are and what their strategy might be. So I think this is something that it's an opportunity that has to be given to the newest generation as well, and whatever that may lead.
And I think it's fair to say also that let's say the shipping companies are quite diversified in terms of the sectors that you are active in. So obviously your traditional sector was the reefer business, which is in fact a special niche, which you've been able to successfully maintain and develop over the years. But you've also entered into the dry bulk market, managing more than 50 ships now, from Supramax, Ultramax to Newcastle Max. So again, quite a diverse range of sizes there. But also in the small tanker business. So clearly three very different sectors and different, let's say, complexities, different market volatilities involved in each of those. How difficult, or let's say easy maybe, for you is it to actually manage this diverse portfolio of business units effectively?
I think when it comes to actual diversity, it's always been part of the strategy of the company. So The bulkers, of course, developed at a period of time when the reefers seemed to be a dying breed. They still are a dying breed because the type of reefers that we're in are also mostly operating in the high seas. So this is something that will soon also be taken over by containers. Although, as we said, it is quite a niche market that is still developing. However, as with many other things, this has to do with very many factors. Fishing, the weather, supply. So it's something that every year is constantly changing. We thought that the full reefer fleet would have already, let's say, died out by now. It proves, though, that we've had a few very, very successful years, which even carried the bulk fleet, let's say, on their back when the bulk carriers were doing very badly. So it's proven to be quite strong still. It is, of course, on a decline as a world fleet anyway. The fleet it's quite an aged fleet. It needs a lot of more attendances and a lot more effort to maintain. However, it's proven to be worth it when it comes to the results that are being produced. So we entered the bulk carrier fleet not knowing how long the reefer fleet would still be with us. The bulk carrier fleet now is almost, we've been managing them for more than 10 years now already. So we're starting, of course, we are, let's say, newer in the market, but we are a lot more confident now than we were when we began. The fleet has grown quite extensively. The fleet age is quite small, is on an average of 5 years. So I think it's quite, it has a life of its own, let's say, separate of the reefer fleet. And as we said, with the small chemical tankers, these are again mostly used in our own operations. So they still have quite a supportive role also of the reefer fleet. So these two, let's say, units are quite interlinked, again separate from the bulker fleet. So it's we see them as, let's say, two markets working together and one of them working completely independently.
And in terms of the commercial strategies that you employ, I mean, clearly they would be different between each sector, but can you give us a bit of, let's say, insight on what is your chosen strategy for the dry bulk fleet, for example?
Well, all the sectors, as we said, we have quite varied sizes. They do have quite distinct differences. So for the Capes, it's a much more volatile market, so we do hope to have longer charters, some index linked, some fixed rate. For the smaller sizes, we tend to have a minimum of 25 to 40%. So it's mostly spot, but we do have 25 to maximum 40% fixed rates as well. We tend to choose different strategies for the different sizes because of their varied changes. So it's quite a diverse
combination.
Combination, yeah.
Of long-term versus
long-term for the larger sizes and
shorter and spot
exactly,
for the
smaller sizes.
Sure. And I mean, obviously this is market-driven, but I think it's good to understand a bit about let's say, the thinking behind your chosen strategy, and I think this is something which we can relate to in terms of a lot of the academic.
Well, look, very simplistically, it's minimizing the risk and maximizing the profit.
The profit, yeah.
So we do, I don't think we are big risk takers generally. We try to be a little bit more stable, thus keeping a minimum of 25, maximum 40% on period. But we do have quite a lot of spot, and we try to take advantage of the volatility given to us by the larger sizes by keeping them in a longer charters.